Richard Daniels was a man of immense wealth. His empire, built on a foundation of steel and glass, towered over the city. Properties lined the avenues, each a testament to his financial prowess. He dined in opulent restaurants, his name whispered in revered tones. He was a titan of industry, a master of the financial universe he had created. His penthouse apartment, a palace in the sky, was filled with priceless art and bespoke furniture. Every surface gleamed, every corner whispered of extravagance. He had amassed a fortune, a collection of rare artifacts, and a reputation that preceded him. He was the epitome of success, or so it seemed. His employees trembled at his approach, his gaze sharp enough to cut through their carefully constructed composure. He demanded unwavering loyalty and absolute obedience. He had no time for weakness, no patience for failure. He was a hard taskmaster, a ruthless businessman, and he expected nothing less than perfection from those who served him. One day, a long-time employee, a man named Thomas, approached him with a heavy heart. Thomas, a loyal and hard-working man, had fallen on hard times. His daughter, his pride and joy, had fallen ill, and the medical bills were mounting. He swallowed his pride and approached his employer, his voice trembling as he requested a loan. Richard, his face a mask of icy indifference, listened to Thomas's pleas. He heard the desperation in his voice, the fear that flickered in his eyes. But Richard's heart remained untouched. He saw only weakness, a crack in the facade of his perfectly controlled world. He dismissed Thomas's request with a wave of his hand, his voice as cold as the marble that adorned his office floor. "Business is business," he stated coldly, his voice devoid of any trace of warmth or compassion. He turned away from Thomas, dismissing him as easily as he would discard a worn-out suit. He felt no guilt, no remorse. He had built his empire on cold, hard logic, and there was no room for sentimentality in his world. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Richard, blinded by his own hubris, made a series of risky investments. He poured his fortune into ventures built on shaky ground, his judgment clouded by arrogance and greed. The once solid foundation of his empire began to crumble, the cracks widening with each passing day. The economic winds shifted and the tide of fortune turned against him. His investments soured, his properties lost their value. The name that had once been whispered with reverence was now uttered with disdain. His empire, once a symbol of his unwavering success, was now a crumbling monument to his folly. He watched in disbelief as his fortune dwindled. His carefully constructed world, the product of years of ruthless ambition, was collapsing around him. His penthouse apartment, his prized possessions, his carefully curated image, all were stripped away, leaving him exposed and vulnerable. He found himself on the streets, his clothes threadbare, his stomach empty. He, who had once turned a blind eye to the suffering of others, now knew true despair. He slept on park benches, his only companions the pigeons and the stray dogs who roamed the city's underbelly. One cold night, huddled beneath a threadbare blanket, he saw Thomas. The man he had so callously dismissed was now a beacon of hope in the darkness. Thomas, his face etched with hardship but his eyes still kind, recognized his former employer. He didn't turn away, he didn't utter a word of reproach. Instead, he offered Richard a warm meal and a place to sleep. Richard, humbled and broken, finally understood the depth of his mistakes. He saw the pain he had inflicted, the kindness he had denied.